Welcome to Making Memoir Magic, the podcast where we unlock the power of your story and guide you through the magical process of turning life experiences into memoirs that inspire and impact. I'm your host, Carrie Kreisman, a memoir mentor and storytelling champion, and I'm here to help you find the courage to embrace your unique story and share it with the world. Whether you're just starting out or refining your final draft, this is the place to be for practical tips, inspiration, and the encouragement you need to write the memoir only you can tell. Ready to make some magic? Let's dive in. Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Making Memoir Magic podcast, your safe space to write boldly, embrace your story, and stop hiding behind fear. I'm your host, Carrie Kreisman. I'm the author of Accidental First Lady, my memoir of surviving 22 years of politics and life in the public eye. I'm also a memoir coach and creator of the Make Memoir Magic program. And I'm a champion of stories. I believe that we all have a story within us. And if you want to share it, that you absolutely should. I believe that your story is valuable and it deserves to be told, and you're the best person to tell it. Today, we're tackling something every memoir writer faces, something silent but loud. It's the fear of judgment. It's that little voice that whispers, what if they don't like me? What if this sounds too dramatic? What if I embarrass myself or someone else? It's normal, it's human, but it can paralyze you from writing anything at all. But the good news is that there is a way to move past this and write your truth anyway. There's a way to tell your story in a way that is authentic, brave, and still resonates with your readers. And today, we'll get into that mindset, the tools, and even a little creative inspiration to help you do exactly that. So let's be honest. Judgment is everywhere. Sometimes it's real and sometimes it's imagined. But in memoir writing, it feels magnified because memoirs are intimate. You're putting your private life on display. Vulnerability equals risk. All right. We care about perception, what others think. We worry what our friends and families or even strangers are going to say about the words that we write and the stories that we share. And comparison can be brutal. All right. We see others' polished memoirs and we think mine isn't good enough. And that is simply not true. Okay. But here's the thing. Fear of judgment is normal, but it doesn't have to stop you from writing. In fact, it can become a guidepost for your story. So if you're wondering, what the heck is she talking about? Bear with me. I'm going to tell you, and I think you're going to understand, and you're going to have a few light bulb moments along the way. So settle in, listen to what I have to say, grab a drink, grab a comfy spot on your sofa, or if you're walking, pop in those earbuds. But just listen, because what I have to say in this podcast is really important, and it's going to help you become a better writer and write your memoir. So I want you to think about why we respond to art and music. All right. When we see a beautiful piece of art or something meaningful and we extract all of these emotions and ideas and thoughts from it, or why does a certain song put us back in the place where we just were? So it's because of authenticity. All right. Even when something might be messy or imperfect, or even unconventional, like some would say was the Super Bowl performance a couple weeks ago. Personally, I enjoyed it, but there you have it. It evokes emotion and feelings from different people, and your story is going to do the same thing. That doesn't make them right or wrong, and it doesn't make you right or wrong for the story you're trying to tell. Ultimately, people are going to connect with honesty, okay? Even if they can't necessarily agree with you, they will understand what you are telling them in your memoir because you're being honest, all right? So the fear of judgment doesn't just sit in your head. it can show up in your writing. So you might notice that you're trying to over polish your manuscript. You might notice that you're trying to make every word perfect, but that's just going to kill the energy of your story. You might self-censor, which means you might leave out key events for fear of what others might think, or a perception of embarrassment that probably doesn't exist. Or maybe you're afraid of showing too much emotion, feeling too much emotion as you're writing. So you just nix it all together. That's not a good idea because it dilutes your memoir and the story that you're trying to tell. It just makes it a listing of events and a recap, if you will. You're not taking your reader on a journey, and they've come for the show, they've come for the journey, they've come for your story. You also might be second guessing everything. So if you are constantly rewriting or deleting scenes because you think they feel like they're too much, that's a sign that maybe there's a fear of judgment there. But the truth is, judgment is going to exist whether you write that scene, that chapter, the book, or not. If you let fear dictate your words, your story loses its heart. And your memoir is going to be stronger if you can be honest, if you can be raw, and if you can fully include your imperfections. Now, I'm not saying you have to do all of that all of the time, but you need to share that because that's where the emotion sits, and that's how your story resonates with someone else. So how do you do this? All right, I've told you why you need to do it, why it's important. How do you do it? You give yourself permission. That is the first thing that you need to do. Write messy, be emotional, contradict yourself if you need to. You can revise it later, but let yourself feel the story as you write it. And separate writing from sharing. So your first draft is for your eyes only. No one else needs to read it unless you're ready. This gives you the freedom to speak honestly. You're always going to write a big first draft of a chapter, even. I'm not talking about the whole book. And then you're going to pare it down. You're going to take out what is not essential, what doesn't move the story along. But to get to that point, you have to write it first. All right. And remember, your eyes only. Write for the right reader, the RIGHT reader. Not everyone is going to understand your story, and that's okay. I want you to focus on connecting with readers who will feel it, who need your story, and with whom it will resonate. One way to do this is, and to practice this, is to use reflective prompts. I'm a big fan of writing prompts, and a few reflective prompts to try are, what am I afraid that people will think? Now, this isn't for your writing necessarily. It's not a writing prompt, but it's a prompt for you. What are you afraid of? Okay. Are you afraid of the stranger that you will never meet that thinks you're strange for feeling a certain way? Are you afraid of the family member who might give you some criticism, but will love you anyway because you know that person and you know they love you? They could criticize your outfit or a meal or something else. Why are you afraid that they might criticize your book? If you write your truth and you show respect in telling your story and the people, and talking about the people who are also in your book, then the people who know you and that you're worried about judging you, they will know that you're writing your truth as you remember it, as you felt it, as your story. Okay. Another or reflective prompt to think about is, what truth am I avoiding because of a fear? And another one is, what would happen if I wrote it anyway? And this is not to say that you write without abandon and you don't care what anyone thinks. I just said that you need to write with respect. And if you need to interview family, then you do that. If it's a difficult subject that you're writing about, talk to them ahead of time, get their feeling, or get their opinions and get their help on verifying the facts so that you don't intentionally put any misinformation out there. That helps them understand it's not censoring and it's not getting approval. It's sharing so that you can make sure your story is the best it can be. And I do talk about this in my course, Make Memoir Magic. We have a chapter or a module, if you will, that talks about how you can interview family members if that's something that your memoir needs. So, just keep that in mind. There are tools out there that you can use. But, journaling your responses and feelings to these questions helps break down those mental log jams that are keeping you from writing. Something to remember that's really important is that writing your story honestly is an act of bravery. It's an act of courage that honors your past and your future. When you write authentically, you reclaim the narrative instead of letting fear dictate it. All right? I'll say that again because I think that's a strong statement. You reclaim the narrative instead of letting fear dictate what it is that you're trying to say. Okay? And in doing so, people will see you as an example, and it gives them permission to do the same thing. So I always say that when you write a memoir, you're going to inspire, educate, and entertain. One or the other, but often all three. So when you give others permission to tell their truth because they saw how you did it, that's inspiration right there. And so you may not even realize that in the desire to tell your story, that you're also going to inspire someone. And you may never meet that person. You may never hear from them, but know that I promise you, if you share your story authentically and bravely, you will inspire. But even more so, you're going to have confidence in your voice, and your voice is going to grow stronger with every word that you write. So a tip that I give to my Make Memoir Magic students, and I'm sorry, the dogs are making a little bit of noise. They're my office mates. I have 3 Labradors in here. A tip that I give to my Make Memoir Magic students is to start with small truths. Write a scene that feels safe enough to write, but write it fully. Notice how your voice begins to trust itself, and then tackle bigger truths one at a time. Courage compounds like that. So here's your challenge for this week. Pick one scene that you've been avoiding because of fear, whether it's shame, embarrassment, judgment, but write it anyway. Don't edit, don't justify, just write. And if you want support along the way, I would love for you to join my free Facebook group, Memoir Magic for Aspiring Authors. And that's where writers share scenes, give feedback. We cheer each other on. It is a place of support. And I will share the link to join that Facebook group in my show notes. I'd also love for you to come to a Memoir Magic write-in every Wednesday, 30 minutes live via Zoom. We write together. So that link will also be in the show notes. Best part is easy to fit 30 minutes into your day, and you walk away having written words on the page. I invite you to explore my free resources. They're on my website, Tools for Writers and Aspiring Authors and Writers. Or anyway, I'll share that link in the show notes as well. But remember, fear of judgment is normal. It doesn't have to own your story, though. You own your story, and your story deserves to be told exactly as it is. So write it boldly, honestly, and courageously. And as always, thank you for listening today. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who needs to hear it. Rate and review this podcast on Apple and any other site that you listen to. I would love your feedback. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, drop me a note. I'm on Instagram at Carrie Kreisman. You can send me an email, carriekreisman@gmail.com. You can contact me through my website. I would love to address a topic that is on your heart. And if it can help you write, then that would make me happy. So thanks again for being here. And as always, I'm cheering you on. Keep writing. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Making Memoir Magic. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take the next step toward telling your unique story through memoir. Remember, your story matters, and someone out there is waiting to hear it. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps others find the show. You can also connect with me at my website, carriekreisman.com, on social media, on Instagram at Make Memoir Magic, or join my Facebook group, Making Memoir Magic for Aspiring Writers. You'll get more tips and inspiration on your memoir journey. Until next time, keep writing, keep sharing, and keep making memoir magic.